I'm going to turn the chairship over to Ms. Valerie Poindexter.
Let the record show that I am assuming the role of the chair. So, Madam Clerk, will you please read in Communication 277.6?
Communication 277.6, request for Corporation Council update on the Missler ruling, including whether or not it will refrain from appealing said ruling as advertised by Resolution Number 144-13, adopted by the Council on May 15, 2013. From Council Member Margaret Willey, dated July 3, 2013.
May I have a motion to close file?
Madam Chair, before you ask for a motion,
Sure.
I feel that this communication should not be in this committee. I want to oppose that.
Okay.
Because I think this should be in the planning committee.
Point of order. On your point of order?
Yes. Any piece of legislation can be in any committee. We always try to put it in the, quote, correct or appropriate committee. But sometimes we can't get it there.
Oh, but,
I've had to put,
I still have the floor.
Excuse me. I have a point of order.
Yeah. But I have a point of order.
Point of order, Mr. Lucia.
Yes,
We are allowed to put these communications or any other legislation in another committee if we have the chairman's authorization and we've confirmed it through Mr. Yoshimoto.
Okay, so what I want to say on that is if you have the chairman's authorization, but she's authorizing her own communication, is that, I mean...
That's not fair.
Okay, so I'm going to take a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
So, you mean? I'm sorry. Okay. Jeff is ready.
Can I...
Wait. Okay, so I'm calling this meeting back to order. Okay. So, my understanding is normally if a council person wants to get onto the appropriate committee, they will ask that committee. If it is denied, then they have put it on their own committee, which in this case, if that is what my understanding was from previous practices, what I'm looking at is past practices. Because I don't want to set precedents, because once we set precedents, we're going to do it all the time. So if past practices was that way...
No, I want to explain something too, but see, council rules, a chair can only hold it up for two.
Okay, wait. Let me finish. Order, wait. Let me finish. Okay. So my question to Council Member Willey, if this looks like it should be on the planning, did you try to put it on the planning committee agenda, is my question.
Okay, thank you for asking me.
Okay, put your mic on. Can you put your mic on?
Why this decision and Missler is about the public trust doctrine and sustainability, and this is exactly where my focus is in terms of this Ag, Water, Energy Sustainability Committee, and this is what the whole decision is about. It doesn't just have to do with planning. If you read such as the Kauai Springs case, it says this is not just about planning, this is about all government decision making. So let me just say, maybe you could say which one's better, but I don't think this was a wrong one. And sometimes, you know, how did I approach this? I wrote this, and why am I doing this?
I think I got that.
Drift?
I got the drift.
So
okay,
you understand.
This is what I need to ask the deputy clerk. Do I need to, we're having this discussion, is this the appropriate time to have this discussion, or do I read that in first to have a discussion on this, and if it's an appropriate, I mean, how do I go forward with this?
I believe Mr. Onishi had an objection,
okay. So we're addressing the objection?
The objection is currently, as far as I can tell, that's what you're discussing.
At this time, what I hear is Margaret believes that this is the appropriate committee, so I'll go to Councilmember Kern, and then Councilmember Elegant, then Councilmember
Thank
Ford.
you very much, Madam Chair. I think this is it just gets too subjective when you want to take something outside of something that's specific planning and move it into something else. I understand what you're saying there, Margaret, but I was never approached by this. I didn't say that I was. We're not even allowed to deny it. I know things have been denied in the past, not on this council term, but we're not allowed to do it. So there's really no true benefit to that. It's not like, this chairperson wouldn't allow me to put this on the agenda. At this point in time, we can't even do that. We can hold it back, and I've held things back for one time just because it looked like it's such a busy committee and it wasn't of super importance. But to me, this would be saying that if somebody had a rezone, or to rezone a piece of property, that they could go into finance, they could go into public safety, they could go into any other committee, and that does not make any sense. If it's planning, it should be planning. If it's environmental management, it should be environmental management. If it's finance, it should be finance. I mean, it's plain and simple. Or why have the committees? Why don't we just have one big committee and just have like a council? I mean, it just doesn't make it. Why have it if we're not going to stick with it? This is clearly planning. We have the planning director here. We have the deputy planning director here. It went through planning. It's a planning issue. It should be in planning.
Okay. Councilmember Elegant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also want to point out that Rule number 6 states the description of the committee. And right now, the description of the planning committee fits that agenda item that you put into your committee. It's matters related to public lands. I don't even have to read this because you already know what it says. So with that statement, I also object to this.
Okay. Councilmember Ford?
Thank you. I partially agree with everybody. And the reason I say that is because if it had been me, I would have gone to Mr. Kern and said, I would have originally put this in planning. That's just me. Okay. Now, if Mr. Kern said no, then I would go to the next most appropriate committee. The next most appropriate committee could either be finance, because this is going to have money attached to it, either in salaries and wages, or we're going to wind up losing another case if this were to be appealed, and that's going to drive up costs. It could also wind up in Margaret's committee as easily as it could be in finance or planning. This is no longer just a planning issue. We've got a court ruling now. This is not going to get bounced back to the council as a planning issue. It's going to come to us strictly as a public trust. We don't have, gosh darn it, we don't have a committee for public trust issues. We don't have a committee for legal issues. We just don't have those committees. So we have to choose a committee in which it will potentially fit. I'm sorry, everybody, I'm not losing it, but I'm having an attack here. and I don't even have food around me, so I think, I understand Mr. Onishi's objection, but because I know that I've had to do this on occasion in past terms, we are not setting a precedent here. This is something that occasionally, it's rare, but it occasionally does happen, and so I don't see any problem with dealing with it at this point. As a matter of fact, from a public perspective, I think we need to deal with this issue today. And so if you want to change what we've done in the past, which can't be done, that's another issue. If you weren't here when we did those things, well, you weren't here, but we did do this in other terms. I've done it myself in at least 2 terms. So I would like to just go forward with this at this point. I think we're actually arguing over some really manini stuff at this point. Putting it into another committee isn't going to get it done faster. It's a delay tactic, and I think that's what's going on here, and I don't think that's appropriate. The public needs to hear this issue. Thank you.
Councilmember Onishi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's not a delay tactic. What I understand what's happening is that 2 council members are working between their committees to get things done so that it can be put up to the floor. And that's wrong, because that's, to me, political. Okay, and let's clarify this too. Past councils, we always had, like, if a chairman of a committee wanted to hold up anything, like a referral committee, they had only 2 readings, and then they had to put it on. Okay, that's the rules. Okay, but in last term's case, I submitted some resolutions that I wanted to get on the floor, and it never did because the chair of the council never put it on. Okay, so what you're hearing from some council members now is not really all true. Okay, because the facts is proven from the last term. Okay, if you look at this, and I want to clarify with the clerk right now, resolution number 144-13, wasn't that heard at the planning committee? Resolution number 144-13, was that heard in the planning committee? That resolution. Do you have any records on that?
The resolution, and it's stated in Communication 277.6.
Okay, because if it was, and I think it was, we did hear it in that committee. If you look at the title, it says requesting the Corporation Council update on the Missler ruling, including whether or not it will be refrained from appealing and said ruling as advised by resolution number 144-13, adopted by the Council May 15, 2013. The title already is kind of reflecting back to what the Planning Committee had it. So why is it coming to the Agriculture, Water, and Energy Sustainability?
Okay.
Because to me, there was political, because they thought that we wouldn't, or the chair would not put it on the agenda. And that's, I think, is wrong. They should have at least gone to the appropriate committee, and then if you get denied, come see the chair to see if the chair will be able to put it on whatever committee they can. But just don't put it on within your own because you want to hear it. And that, to me, is wrong. Because, like I said, the title, if you look at the title and the resolution that we passed, 144-13, was through the Planning Committee. It wasn't through the Committee of Agriculture, Water, and Energy Sustainability. It was never put on that. So I think this should be withdrawn. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kern?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree. I mean, our rules state that we cannot deny something. So there is no point of denial. The only thing that a chair can do is hold it back 2 times. So it can't...
I want to... Can I hear?
The bottom line is we can't hold it back. So there is no issue with sending it to the right committee. It's not like sent to that committee, it's getting denied, you got to go find a committee that will accept it. You submit it, it gets accepted, we put a time frame on it, and we do it. I think out of principle, this logically speaking, if it's a planning issue, it should be in planning. If it's economic, it should be in the economic committee. Public safety. It's just an apple with an apple and an orange with an orange. Plain and simple. And that takes out any even perception of games or perception of political maneuvering. We don't need that. It should be logical, first and foremost, pragmatic and sensible, and That's all I have to say. It should be really simple.
I have to go to Councilmember Eoff.
Thank you. I tend to agree with this discussion that items should be referred to the appropriate committees in a non-biased fashion. I just have one concern that the planning director and the deputy have waited here all day, and I don't know if we should be concerned about that or not, but okay.
Okay, I'd like to speak.
Thank you, Karen. Councilmember Willie?
Okay. Let me say, when I looked at this, I thought about planning, my committee with sustainability and intergovernmental affairs, okay? And I felt, what's the tack that I was looking at it from, and that was to really focus on this as sustainability. I didn't ever think that Zendo would deny hearing it. I mean, I just want to say that in terms of thinking I had to avoid it, and I didn't get to be the chair here. It's not like, you know, Valerie, I like Valerie better than Zendo or something, but I was just trying to look at the focus, so I just want to say there wasn't any issue. So then I go to Jay, right, and I think, well, I'm going to try for the orientation I like best, and if he doesn't buy that, then I'll go to, you know, these other, okay, planning or intergovernment. I actually thought it was a toss-up, and I thought, well, mine might be a little bit less, but let's give it a go, and he said yes, and that was my focus. So I just want to say there wasn't any, I never thought, I don't even think about somebody saying no to get something on if it wasn't enough time. So I just want to say how my mind went through that this might not be as clear, but it isn't a wrong committee. There might be a better. Sometimes there's one or another, and I went with of those that could be that focused on how do I look at this, why do I think this issue is important, and that's how we went for it. I don't have any trouble having Zendo doing it. You know, I don't care how we handle it. I would like, since we really haven't discussed this, and I feel there's some more clarity, I would like to ask that we go ahead and hear this, but henceforward that we do focus more, and our great chairman can help keep us on line if we're swerving off course in terms of proceedings. So that's what I would like to ask, but we can vote, and obviously we'll be happy to go along with whatever, but that's what I would appreciate.
Thank you. And then there's a correction to that communication. I think we make the correction once we read it in, because it should be 11413, thank you, Lorraine, instead of 144-13, because 144-13 was on Finance Committee, so 114-13 is the correct one. That was just a typo. So, okay, we're still on the discussion of the objection. Councilmember Ford? Thank you.
Had this communication come forward tomorrow in the council, it would have fallen under probably the executive sessions or potential executive session, because we're going to talk about lawsuits, and we have to deal with corporation counsel and get their advice and all of that stuff. You know, so that the fact that it came up today means nothing. As far as what, there's an assortment of committees from my perspective that this could fall into legitimately. 3, possibly even public safety, because we're protecting the public resources, the public trust resources. So as I said before, I'm not having a problem with this, but because we do have people here that are ready to speak to this, I think we should go forward, because what will happen is we say it shouldn't be here. It's going to be 2 more sessions. I think the deadline for next time is already passed, and so that winds up holding it. I think for me, there's an urgency in this. We passed Resolution 114-13, and we voted, I believe, unanimously and said, do not appeal this case. And I'm hearing rumbles through the grapevine. Okay, I'm going too far. Let me not go too far. Yeah. So I just think that we need to deal with this today, and there's nothing wrong with it being in this committee, because it could have been in my public safety committee just as easily.
Councilmember Iligan.
Already, Madam Chair, that the fact that the introducer of this communication has already accepted that she did not put it in the proper committee. And on top of that, we as a council, we're here to check, to make sure that everyone follows the rules, that we have rules, we have these laws, policies that we have to make sure that we go through. And here we are. If we actually do need to lead by example, showing that if we make a mistake, that we put in a communication that's not in the right committee, that we should actually take that back and go through the proper procedures. And the fact that this is really supposed to be going to planning, let's just take it back and go through the proper procedures. Let's lead by example and let's go with that.
Okay, do we have any other discussion? Okay, so if everybody got through, can I just say something now? Or, do you have? Okay, Councilmember Yoshimoto.
Okay, so Margaret, let me I want to do a clarity check. So you just asked to have this communication be put in your committee.
Yeah.
That's the long and the short of it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to agree with what most of the council members have said, that this isn't in the right committee. I think that much is clear. Just so council members know, what it is basically, I leave it to staff to decide, where measures go in which committee. And, if there's a problem, they come and see me, or if council members disagree with a particular assignment, they come and see me. So it happens from time to time. Yeah. But this particular issue, I think, it is pretty clear to me that the right thing to do would have been to been in planning, or at least ask the planning chair. So that's where my tipping point is, Margaret, because whether it should be heard today or tomorrow, whatever it is, that's one point. But I think, we don't even get to that point, because I do think that it should have been in the planning committee, or at least have been asked for the process to have legitimacy. That's my concern, right? Because we talk about the process, and I think, it is important. So that's just my take on that.
No, and I agree. I thought, I'm not saying this was, it was an error. I think that it might have been better in that committee or more appropriate, but not that it was inappropriate. So the whole question is now, do we go ahead and hear this?
So now that everybody's done, does anybody else have it? Okay, from what I'm hearing, Margaret, because you were kind of on the fence that you're not sure if it should go to planning, because I'm assuming that because you had to go to Jay to ask him. So already there was a question.
Did she go to
you?
Jay.
Oh, I thought you said you went to the chair.
I did go to Jay. I did go to you.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
So, okay. So even with your questioning, you questioned yourself. So I see that you were struggling with that, and always err on the side of judgment. For me, you always err on the side of judgment. And from what Councilmember Ford said, too, if it was hers, she would have put it in planning first also, but that was her. The other thing that I heard is on past practices that it was done only when it was rejected by a chair and then put in to another committee. So for me, I'm leaning towards holding up that objection and hoping that you may withdraw it to put it onto the planning department, planning committee, because from what all I've heard, that's just my opinion, just to keep it fair with everybody. And for me, it's like setting a precedence that we can just say, okay, I wonder if I can just justify it enough for it to be in my finance committee, and have Gregor do the chair while so it's just, for me, I see it cleaner if we keep doing what we're doing. And I've heard from everybody, including yourself as a question, and from Ms. Ford, and from everybody else, except I didn't hear from Drew, but I'm sure I don't know what he would feel. But anyway, he'll get to vote. So that's my opinion. So do we do a vote on the? Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I don't think we need to vote because it's not read in. So if she would be able to withdraw it and then put it into the planning committee, that would be great. Now, I don't know, and I don't want to open up can of worms. So I don't want to, because I want to say, if we want to continue on this discussion, and because the staff, the director and deputy directors are, I don't know if we could maybe go into executive session and have our discussion, and then that way we can all understand, and then maybe then you can go and put your new communication into planning. That's what I was.
Okay, so my question to our deputy clerk is, if we're going to executive session though and discuss this, that means we have to read it in. So we don't want to go through that, because if we're going to executive session, we would have to read in the communication and put it on the floor. Councilmember Kern, we're still on the objection.
Yeah, I think we're starting to complicate things more. It's not in the right committee. Withdraw it, put it in the right committee. Let's discuss it, do exactly what we're going to do, but out of principle and doing things right. It's just what we should be doing. And that does not preclude you from going and talking to Mr. Ishida and getting an update on that.
Okay.
Right. And
Councilmember Ford. Oh, okay. Yeah, but Councilmember Ford, please.
Okay, there's one other possibility. We are allowed to make changes in our agenda. We could refer this back to the planning committee. We could do a reconsideration on the adjournment of the planning committee and put it in there today and go forward from there and let Zendo chair the meeting. We have the right to make agenda changes.
Okay, so this is on the objection yet?
Yes.
Councilmember Kern.
On the objection, we have spent a lot of money today on things that are not necessarily actually getting things done, and every time we move into overtime, it gets more challenging in my mind. I think going, again, let's keep it simple. It's not in the right committee. Withdraw it. Let's put it in the right committee. Done.
Okay. So last word is with Councilmember Willie, and then, you want to, Councilmember Yoshimoto.
One quick correction. So Margaret did talk to me about putting this item in committees. She did do that. That's correct. I just don't recall her asking me to put it in her own committee, which she did not. So that's clear. That's correct, right, Margaret? You did talk to me about it, but not about which committee.
Yeah, I asked you if I could put it in the Ag, Water, Energy, Sustainability Committee. We were standing right outside the...
No, I don't remember that. But anyway,
okay. So that's okay.
But,
so Councilmember Willie with the last word, and then we'll go to deal with the objection or withdrawal.
Rejection or withdrawal?
No, the objection, I said. Although
withdrawal.
You're feeling rejected.
Okay. I just want to make one thing, that it wasn't for me to get into my committee. It was really that focus on sustainability and not having it just planning. But I'm fine having it go over to Zendo either right now. I think the discussion would take like 10 minutes, given what I know about the situation. And the only problem really is the urgency of what's going on. But let me just say, I'm fine referring it over. I don't know. I'd like to know how we can get it on the agenda. The sooner the better. So, and what we can.
You can amend this agenda.
So I would prefer that we amend this agenda and we just get it done right now. And we've had this discussion, and I think we have a better clarity. But if you guys want to do it the other way.
So if you want to amend the agenda, that means we're going to vote on the objection. Is what? Can you? Okay, but she's not willing to withdraw. Or is she? Because she's amending, she said. She wants to amend the planning committee. And how does that happen? I'm going to take a 5-minute recess.
Okay. I think I have to vote to amend if that's...
Okay, I'm calling this meeting back to order. Councilmember Willie, you now have the floor.
Okay, I will happily withdraw this and move it forward, and hopefully we can get it onto the next council, not tomorrow, but the next council meeting.
Okay. At the planning, just a council meeting. Okay. So actually, you're just withdrawing right now?
I'm just withdrawing
So
right
she's
now.
withdrawing, so since she's withdrawing now, okay, so Gregory, okay.
Could we all let the chair run the meeting, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Communication 277.6 has been withdrawn. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
So it's been moved by Councilmember Kern and seconded by Councilmember Onishi. All those in favor? All those opposed? Meeting is adjourned. That is rude when they do that. Hey, Lorraine, good catch, man, good catch, man.
I actually caught that when I was reading it earlier, and I meant to tell her, and I thought it was something else. But when I was reading that, I said, ew,
Good job.
what are they for?
Yeah.
Sorry for the...
Have a good evening, Brenda.
Can we all sing Kumbaya? No.